What is up, and welcome to the Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silver's 2023 South Carolina Gamecock football preview show. I am your host, Brandon Silvers. If you don't know, we did an SEC and national preview, so check those out as well. And by we, I mean I am joined by the star of the most entertaining weekly college football pick'em show on the internet, Brett's Bets, and fellow Gamecock fan, Brett Gosnell. Brett, what is going on?
How's it going?
Fantastic. So let's talk Gamecock football. Last year, 8-5, 4-4 in the SEC, beat Clemson, thank God, lost to Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl. It was kind of a season that was a tale of two offenses. Mercifully, Marcus Satterfield is gone. What can we expect offensively heading into Shane Beamer's third year?
Well, the good news is the quarterback and the best receiver are back. It is question marks galore after that, however. So we'll start with the offensive coordinator. So Dowell, forgot what I even was going to – shit.
I think Logan's.
Fuck, Logan's. Thank you, Logan's. There we go. Okay, Dowell Logan's. So he has had three previous NFL offensive coordinator jobs, and he has done just horribly at all of them. You know, not trying to be pessimistic here, but we have to be real. Just terrible. He was under Adam Gase, who supposedly was kind of an offensive guru, but never worked out. He was with the Bears, the Dolphins, and the Jets. And, yeah, either dead last or close to dead last offense every time. Most recently, he was with Sam Pittman at Arkansas. That's his alma mater. And the only good things you can really point to, Arkansas fans wanted him to be the OC. I'm sure there were some bias there with him being an alum, and everybody that's ever been with the guy just loves him. He's apparently a very good guy, good recruiter, players like him. And he has said a lot of the things you want to hear since he's taken the job. So one of the things that annoyed you to no end about Satterfield was he didn't seem willing to adjust his offensive style to fit the personnel. And Logan's is very clear that that's what he's doing. He's not even really divulged what his offensive style is. He's only said, we're going to tailor it to fit the personnel. And that sounds great. I'm very happy about that. But as far as his actual play calling chops, we've got no reason to be optimistic there.
And that's part of the reason for the confusion about how to pronounce his last name. Is it's spelled low gains, which is bad for an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, maybe that's how it's supposed to be pronounced, but he just axed that shit once he started coaching.
Coaching offense. If he coached defense, it would probably be low gains.
Yeah.
But now it's Logan's. All right, so you mentioned we got Spencer Rattler back, came out of high school, the number one quarterback, went to Oklahoma, great freshman season, not so great sophomore year, ended up here. Last year was kind of frustrating. How much of that was on Satterfield not adjusting and building the offense around him, and how much of it was on Rattler?
I lay about 90% of it at the feet of Satterfield. Rattler is the most talented quarterback we've ever had at South Carolina. I don't think that's even debatable. He's turnover prone, even in those last two games of the year where he was playing out of his mind. He had two horrible interceptions against Clemson. But I don't care. Like, I want my quarterbacks taking risks. If you turn it over sometimes, that's fine. He more than made up for it in both of those games. And previous to those two games, the play calling was terrible. It was too complicated. I think I read we had like 20 something personnel packages. And then those last two games, we only had 7. So we simplified things drastically. And if you notice, all throughout the year with Rattler, he would come to the line with a play and then he would look back at the sideline and they changed the play like every time. And those last two games against Tennessee and Clemson, never. That did not happen. We stuck with the play we went to the line with, and yeah, I think just simplifying things helped tremendously. So I hope that's what Loggins sticks with here.
Yeah, because we talked in the SEC preview about the late Mike Leach, whose offenses were prolific. And he had like the one sheet of paper for play calls.
Yeah, like 15 plays.
Yeah. And it was like Marcus Satterfield tried to show how much football he knew versus trying to score points.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a lot of theory that he was not calling the plays anymore those last two games. And that's like the Occam's razor explanation for what happened. But the reporters that I trust in Columbia are adamant that he was still calling the plays. So, I believe them, but something definitely changed drastically.
So what are your expectations for Spencer this year? I know last year, 3,000 yards passing, 18 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He had, 6 of those touchdowns against Tennessee, and it was up and down. What would he have to do for you to be like, all right, he had a good year. He's fulfilled the potential that he came in with?
I mean, the ceiling, he's a first-round pick. He's the pedigree's there. The talent is there. 5-star recruit, I think you mentioned. And if he plays half as good as he did against Tennessee and Clemson all year, he probably is a first-round pick. So, I mean, it's a little too pie in the sky to expect quite that good, but I want to get close to that. I think he's that good.
And does he have the weapons to do that? I know Juice Wells is back. He was incredible last year. Josh Vann finally graduated after what felt like 80 years of playing for us. I know Jaheim Bell transferred out to FSU because he didn't like lining up as a running back, and I'm sure they had a little bit more NIL money as well. So is he going to have enough weapons to throw to? I know we got a big-time recruit coming in as well. Have we done right by him in terms of giving him talent?
That's the huge question mark. So yeah, Juice Wells is back, thankfully, one of the best receivers in the conference. But you gotta have more people to throw to, or he's just going to be bracketed, and So as far as what we got around him, huge question marks, but it's not inconceivable to think we'll have a good receiver and tight end room. So Amarian Brown is back. He's in his 5th year. He's the transfer from Georgia Tech. Very, very fast kid. We've really only seen him on jet sweeps and stuff. We haven't seen him do a ton, but he was good at Georgia Tech. He's definitely fast enough. Xavier Legette is the guy that most people think is going to be that number 2 receiver. He's shown a ton of flashes throughout his career, but just never quite put a full season together. But he's apparently done the David Boston thing where he's put on just a shitload of muscle.
Hopefully he didn't use the David Boston route.
The method. Yeah. He looks just huge. He's listed, I'm looking at the roster now, 6'3", 227. He looks a lot bigger than that. So I'm cautiously optimistic he'll play well. Eddie Lewis is the main transfer that we brought in. He played at Memphis. He was like a 700-800 yard a year guy at Memphis. So he could be a passable receiver in the SEC. Looking at some of the recruits from a few years ago, some of the young guys we haven't seen really play yet. Omega Blake is who I'm hearing the most about. He's a redshirt sophomore out of Rock Hill. There's to put it simply, Juice Wells is the proven option, and then there's a lot of other potentials, but we just haven't seen it.
I feel like that's kind of been the story of our wide receivers for the longest time. We'll have like a guy and then a bunch of hopefuls around him.
Yeah.
And, the Jaheim Bell thing, like that hurts. But I guess the bright side of that is we're not replacing a lot of production there because we didn't use him right. So,
So I buried the lead a little bit. Let me talk about one more receiver, then we'll get into the tight ends. Nicholas Harbor, that's who you referenced as the big recruit. One of the biggest recruiting gets in South Carolina history, no question about it. I haven't heard a lot of talk about him. I don't know if they really seem to be trying to temper expectations because he is a very raw athlete. I mean, he's one of the best athletes in the country, but can he step in and play right away in the SEC? That's a very tough ask. But he's 6'5", 241, and is the fastest player probably in the conference. So, I mean, we're getting a freak here. No doubt about it.
Because he ran a 10-100 in high school.
Yeah.
And isn't he supposed to be playing receiver so that he can train to run in the Olympics? Because he was, I've seen him at like defensive end in a couple of different places, but I think I read that he was going to play receiver so that he could maintain the weight that he needs to be the fastest sprinter possible.
Yeah, that's what I understand. I mean, if it wasn't for that, the obvious thing to do would be to play him both ways and just bring him in on third downs and let him get after the quarterback. But that would require him maybe to put on a little weight, I guess, is the thinking. But yeah, just having him out there to send on go routes is, I mean, that could potentially be a game changer.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see him. I am glad we're kind of not overloading him with expectations, though.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on to the tight ends. Yeah, we lose Jaheim Bell, like you said. Trey Knox is the big replacement, transfer from Arkansas, 6'5", 237. He might be a better pass catching option than Jaheim Bell was. Bell was more of just Swiss Army knife H-back kind of guy. Trey Knox might be a actually better receiver, so we may not be losing a ton there. Josh Simon is another transfer we're bringing in. We brought him in earlier, and we were kind of excited about him, and then Trey Knox overshadowed it. But Josh Simon, transfer from Western Kentucky. He was really good up there. He's originally from Dalzell, so he's coming back home.
Home of Ray Allen.
Yes. So, yeah, there's reason to believe that we're going to have some options to throw the ball to.
All right, and we talked about Jaheim Bell leaving. We also lost Marshawn Lloyd to the portal. He went to Southern Cal. I know Juju McDowell's back. I don't think of him as an every down back. What are we going to do there?
So now we're getting into the darker part of the offensive roster here. The running back room's tough, and the offensive line is tough. So we'll start with Juju McDowell. 5'9", 171. So yeah, not an every down back. He's never going to be like a superstar player, I don't think, but I love him. I'm a lot higher on him than most people are. And the reason being, I've seen many games these first 2 years under Beamer where the running game's getting completely stifled, and Juju's like the only guy that can pick up yards. I think he's an extremely smart runner. I think he's patient. He picks and finds holes well. He's not going to carry it 30 times a game, but I like him a lot. I think he's a passable option at running back for sure. He had that huge catch against Clemson too on that 4th and 1 where we threw it over the top to him. So he's got some speed. So yeah, I like him. I think he can be a average SEC back, which means you're pretty damn good.
Well, that's good. So who who are we pairing with him? Because it feels like we've had talented running back rooms, whether or not we've used them correctly. Well,
Yeah,
Satterfield's gone, thank God. But because going into last year, we had Marshawn Lloyd, Juju, obviously, Christian Beal-Smith. That was last year too, correct?
Yep.
And then we had Jaheim Bell taking handoffs.
Yeah.
So do we have a tight end who can take handoffs this year?
The problem with the running game has been the last 2 years has been the offensive line has just been terrible. But let's finish out with the running back personnel. I'll save what might be the best for last. Let's talk really quick about so Mario Anderson is a redshirt sophomore or redshirt senior transfer from Newberry. Had a ton of yards there, but that's obviously a massive step up in competition. No clue what you're going to get there. So DJ Braswell, true freshman, 4-star, big recruit. We see freshman running back come in and play well. I mean, I haven't heard the expectations aren't through the roof or anything, but he could end up being a legitimate option at some point this year. He'll certainly be a good player going forward. But the most interesting option at running back is Dak Joyner. So, if not for Marcus Lattimore, this guy would be our favorite Gamecock of all time. I think that's safe to say. South Carolina kid, greatest high school player in South Carolina history, has had every right to transfer away several years and go play quarterback somewhere, has been loyal, stayed home, and has played every position. And now he's going to try running back. I have no clue if that's going to work out or not. I mean, it's the first time he's done it, but there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. So, first of all, anytime you've seen him with the ball in his hand, he's electric. We just haven't got the ball in his hand enough. So, I guess we can try handing it off to him and see how that goes. But yeah, obviously an elite runner. Maybe not like the most top end speed, but just acceleration, just incredible to me. Just very explosive. He is up to he's listed at 6'1", 229 pounds. So
Whoa.
he's put on a ton of weight. He was probably like flat 200 when he got on the campus after high school. So yeah, he's bulked up for the position. This is 6th year; it'll be his last year. So that's tough to take on a new position at that point. But it's certainly worth a try.
And if anyone deserves success, it is Dak Joyner, like the most loyal kid. Everyone always talk, transfer portal, this and that. And neither one of us have a problem with the transfer portal. Like, go where you want to be. But this kid has stuck it out, and he's been incredible. Like you said, when we get him the ball and use him, I don't know why we haven't done more of that. So I'm hoping, if nothing else, the reason he can't run is because his pockets are too full of NIL money.
Yeah. So, I think that covers the offense. Sorry, we haven't got an offensive line yet, but the skill positions, we've got 2 superstars and a lot of potential, we'll say.
That is very optimistic of you, and I appreciate that because it's 0-0, and so we can be optimistic. But yeah, you talked about the offensive line. I cannot remember the last season where we went into the season feeling okay about the offensive line. And that would appear to be the case this year too.
No. So yeah, this is where it gets ugly. So the offensive line has been horrible under Shane Beamer. Just no question. There's no other way to put it. It's just been absolutely terrible. The last year under Muschamp, that COVID year where the team was terrible, but Kevin Harris ran for like 2,000 yards, the offensive line was extremely good. We brought back everybody the first year under Beamer, but we switched under the offensive line coach, Trey Atkins. We switched to a zone blocking scheme, and personnel just didn't fit, or they just did not work, and it didn't get any better last year either, despite having some pretty good players. So where we're at now is the most talented players that we had from last year, they're gone.
Nice.
And we do have a new offensive line coach, but from what I understand, he was the assistant offensive line coach. I don't think anything's going to change fundamentally. Lonnie Teasley. So as far as players that were on the team last year, not a ton of talent coming back. We've brought in 3 transfers, but they're from Charlotte, Western Illinois, and Yale.
That seems bad.
Yeah, the guy from Yale, Nick Gargiulo, he's the one that's probably, if any of them start, it'll probably be him. But that's a tough ask to step into the trenches in the SEC. So the good news is the incoming freshman class is very, very, very good. So let me just list all these guys really quick. Marquis Anderson from Dorman, Big Tree Babalade from the D.C. area, Trevon Baugh from Atlanta, and Jatavius Shivers. Don't remember where he's from, but very good incoming freshman class. Beamer has hinted that freshmen will play on the offensive line. So, but that's just of anywhere to play as a true freshman, that is the toughest. There's no question about it. So as good as these kids are, I don't think you can expect great performances out of them their true freshman year.
Yeah, it might be a thing where, you kind of have to play them just for down the road. And it's not, like you said, we don't have better options, but it sounds like it's going to be another long season on that front.
Yeah. But the thing is, as important as offensive line is, if you have a good offensive coordinator, you can scheme around it. You just don't call these long developing pass plays. Don't run the ball up the middle every time. Satterfield could not get that through his head. So maybe Loggins will be better in that regard. Hopefully.
Yeah. Because at least it sounds like there's light at the end of the tunnel a couple years from now, because it's been very depressing.
The offensive line and defensive line, which we'll get to, the recruiting there is going extremely well. Like, we're going to be loaded in the trenches in the coming years. But this year is going to be a little bit of a slog.
Well, let's go ahead and get to the defensive line then. I know Jordan Birch left for Oregon. Sounded like he wanted to come back. Didn't come back.
Yeah.
Zach Pickens is gone. You mentioned help is on the way. Are we going to see it this season?
So I guess let's start inside at D-tackle. So not a ton of depth, but what's there has a chance to be good. So Tonka Hemingway, and he might actually slide out and play outside some, but he's probably the best player on the front. Extremely athletic kid. We've already seen him make a lot of plays. He's a senior. Good God, I didn't even realize he's a senior now. I was going to say he was a junior. Wow. But he's had a great career already. I think he's going to have a great year this year. Boogie Huntley will be playing inside with him. He was a big 4-star recruit out of Blythewood, Hammond. He's a redshirt junior now. It's ready for it. I hope he's ready to take that next step because we're going to need it. But plenty of reason to be optimistic about him. Where we've really been lacking on the defensive interior the past few years is just size. We just haven't had it. We've had talented players that can penetrate, but not a lot of size. Well, Nick Barrett, junior this year, played last year, got better as the year went on. He's going to see significant time this year. He's listed at 327. So hopefully he can be that, anchor in the middle. And TJ Sanders, I'll mention him as well. He's just shy of 300, kid out of Marion. Hopefully we can get something out of him. And the transfer that we've brought in, Elijah Davis. He was a former 4-star guy. Where did he come from? He's a JUCO guy. So, hopefully he can step in and play right away as well. So, it's not going to – middle of the road D-line would be great, and I would be very happy with that.
Okay.
And that would be an improvement.
That's true, and that's also a little bit sad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how about behind them, the linebackers? I know.
I'm sorry. We need to talk DN. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So, looking at DN, Terrell Dawkins comes back. He's a redshirt senior now. He was the transfer out of NC State that really didn't play any last year. I'm not sure why that was. Like you said, Birch is gone. Gilbert Edmond is a huge loss. He played a ton as a true freshman and was very good, but Florida State took him as well. Jordan Strawn, I think led the nation in sacks 2 years ago at Georgia State. So big reason to be optimistic about him. He got hurt either before the season started or I think like the first or second game last year he got hurt. So we didn't see any of him, but he's probably our best pass rusher. We brought in JTS Greer, 6'6", 240, played at Syracuse. He's originally from South Carolina, so he's coming back home. He could give us something. And as far as the true freshmen are concerned, Desmond Umeozulu, DC area kid, he's going to be an elite pass rusher at some point. And was a big enough recruit where you think maybe it can go ahead and happen this year. So again, kind of the same as the interior. Some reasons to be optimistic, but a lot of basically everybody's unproven. So we'll just have to see.
Huh. All right. So it does sound like, again, with the offensive line, light at the end of the tunnel. Now, whether or not we get to the end of the tunnel this year remains to be seen. The linebackers lost a couple of big pieces last year, but I don't know how big they actually were. So what are we looking like there? I know Sherrod Green, he's gone. Brad Johnson, who's going to step in and replace that production?
So this is one where like the more national people are thinking we take a big step back at linebacker because they see that we lost 2 seniors and are replacing them with young guys. I think we actually improve here. Sherrod Green was a great tackler, smart, everything. He was just so slow. I mean, any sideline to sideline offense just killed us. Brad Johnson, he played good as well, but just he's supposed to be a D lineman, so he's not going to be that fast either. So where we will lack in experience this year, we're going to make up for in athleticism. So Debo Williams, big option, super athletic, super hard-hitting guy, transfer from Delaware, played some last year. Mo Kaba was hurt all of last year. He was a big 4-star recruit. He's a redshirt junior. We haven't really seen him break out yet, but plenty of reason to be optimistic that he will. Stone Blanton played a good bit as a true freshman. So he'll get some playing time this year. He looked good, the times that I saw him play. And Jerron Willis, a redshirt freshman, transferred out of Ole Miss. Not sure exactly what the reasoning was there. He's from Georgia, so he's not a South Carolina kid or anything. But from what I hear, he's super athletic as well. So we'll have some speed at the linebacker position, which is we have sorely lacked the past several years.
Yeah, I'd much rather have that. I mean, this is the SEC, so you just can't have those plotting guys there at linebacker and hope to have a prayer against like a Georgia or
Right.
someone, like you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And speaking of trouble, I feel like we always have like a good NFL talent in the secondary, but doesn't always come across in the pass defense. Some of that's related to the lack of pass rush we've had at times. But what are we looking like in the secondary this year?
So I'll get into the specific players in a second, but let me start off with saying we have the best secondary coach in America, Torrian Gray. I don't think it really matters who the players are. I think he's that good. And I'm looking at Beamer's first year was obviously we were pretty devoid of talent everywhere, but it looked particularly terrible in the secondary. I mean, I thought we were going to give up 400 yards passing a game. And not only did that not happen, we had the number one pass defense in the SEC Beamer's first year. Granted, that was a lot because we couldn't stop the run. Teams didn't need to throw it. But still, Torrian Gray, he just gets the kids playing out of their mind. Cam Smith, who was a big recruit, but he looked very bad his freshman year. Torrian Gray turns him into a first-round pick. Darius Rush was a 3-star high school quarterback. He turns him into an NFL guy. Getting into the specific players now, Marcellus Dial is another, middling kind of recruit. But, again, Torrian Gray's got him coached up. He's playing well. He's going to play in the NFL. So he's probably our best option at cornerback. As far as the other cornerback spot, O'Donnell Fortune, another like 3-star middling recruit, but I have confidence he's going to play well. And then looking at the freshmen really quick, Vakari Swain is a true freshman. I'm hearing a lot of good things about him. Jalen Kilgore, true freshman. Emory Floyd, redshirt freshman. These are all 4-star guys. So, don't know how early we'll see them play, but again, it's getting better. The talent's improving.
And I think the step back last year was more related to like health than and lack of pass rush than anything. And it wasn't even like we took a step back, but you take a step back from being the best pass defense in the SEC just a little bit. It wasn't like we went back in time to when we would give 20-yard cushions off the line. Yeah. So I think I'm optimistic about that, especially with the coaching we have there. But I think we need to talk about our best unit, special teams.
Let me touch on Nick Imamori. Look at safety really quick.
Okay.
Nick Imamori, maybe the best safety in the conference. I mean, he just had an incredible true freshman year. And DQ Smith played extremely well at safety also. So we're set at the safety position. And again, these are two, I don't even know if DQ Smith was a 3-star. I know Nick Imamori was a 3-star out of Irmo. But he comes in as a true freshman and leads the nation in solo tackles by a DB. So, again, not a lot to say because there's not a lot of worry at this position where the coaching's just so good. So, anyway, special teams, please.
Yes, not a lot to say about punter Kai Kroeger, Heisman candidate. Now, like this unit, with the Beamer last name, it's going to be good. That's their brand. And they won us games last year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kai Kroger's the best punter I've ever watched. And, I've watched the Tennessee guys, the Colquitt kids.
All the Colquitts.
Single-handedly beat us. So, Kroeger, he won games for us last year. I mean, against Clemson, when we got the lead and then we couldn't move the ball late, he kept just banging out incredible punts to pin them back. And then the last punt of the game, the one bad punt that he had, the kid fumbles the ball. So it just Yeah, the special teams unit is just incredible. Yeah, Kai Kroeger is incredible. Glad he's back, and the place kicker's back as well.
Micah Jeter. Yeah. So we've done a good job we've had some prolific kickers recently. I know Parker White and guys like that. So I don't know. I typically am not someone who's excited about special teams, but now I can't help but be excited about them because it is exciting.
It's fun, yeah. And you mentioned the Beamer name. I mean, that is his baby, but Pete Limbo is the special teams coach. Aside from Torrian Gray, that's certainly the best hire that Beamer made. I don't think it's even debatable. He's the best special teams coach in the country. He had a lot of head coaching, like from smaller schools. He had some head coaching interest, but thankfully he's sticking around. Feel like this might be his last year. He's still fairly young as coaches go, and it's hard to turn down a head coaching job, even if it is like Ball State or whatever. But yeah, we're going to be probably the best special teams in the conference again.
Yeah, and even the return game, Xavier Leggett, we watched him return the kickoff for the touchdown with one shoe on against A&M last
year. That's right. Yeah.
And just stacked. So I don't know. I'm excited about that. I know we've got that for sure. So as many questions marks as we have other places, we've got special teams. So tune in if you love great special teams play. But we do have one of the hardest schedules in the nation, which is kind of typical for us. We've exceeded expectations these past 2 years. Can we make it a third?
So the simple answer, I'm probably going to say no. I think the expectations are, at least kind of nationally and maybe among like the more casual parts of the fan base, I think the expectations are very high because we're making huge waves in the recruiting trail. So the general vibe around the program is like very positive. We just signed the 5-star kid, number 10 player in the country out of DC. So like we're making like national waves in the media. And we closed the year out last year, destroying Tennessee and finally beating Clemson. So, and everybody knows Rattler and Wells, our most identifiable offensive players, are back. So I think if you look at it from like that surface level, you feel like maybe we go beyond the 8 wins and get to 10 wins or something. But when you really dig into the roster like we just did, 10 wins is going to be like very difficult. Getting back to 8 wins is going to be very difficult. Vegas has our win total at 6.5, which that feels about right. The past several years, I've bet over our win total heavily. I'm not touching it this year. Like you said, the schedule is the hardest in the country. Whereas there are reasons to be optimistic at a lot of positions, there are massive question marks. Spencer and Wells aren't going to be able to do it by themselves. We're going to have some of these question marks turn into exclamation points if we're going to, have another good year. So I feel like my official prediction is probably 7-5. I'd be very happy with that. And anywhere from like 5-7 to 9 wins is probably our ceiling, but anywhere in there seems possible to me.
And it's tough because I know we open up with North Carolina in Charlotte, and that's a good team. Drake May at quarterback there is incredible.
We're an underdog that game.
Yep, that makes complete sense. Then the 16th of September, we go to Georgia.
Yeah.
And the 30th of September, we go to Tennessee, and we still play Clemson.
Yeah.
That would not be – like if we don't win any of those games, that wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world. That's 4 losses right there.
At Texas A&M, as shitty as they looked, that's still just a very hard place to go and win.
So, yeah, I don't think the schedule makers did us any favors. How are you feeling 3 years in the Beamers tenure versus 3 years into Muschamp's?
Well, I feel very good now for sure. But the thing is, we're at the exact same point, like identical. The Beamer and Muschamp through their first 2 years had the exact same record, even down 6-6 first year, 8-4 next year, both 1-1 in bowl games. So identical at this point. Uh, so yeah, I feel very good about Beamer, but I felt good about Muschamp at this point too. Which, looking back, what a moron I was to feel that way. But in Muschamp's third year, I think we were 7-5, so we took that step back there. The difference, I guess, I feel like Muschamp was recruiting pretty well too, but I feel like the 2023 class that will be stepping foot onto campus this year, or technically already has, will be stepping onto the football field this fall for the first time. They're very good. The 2024 class has potential to be one of the best in school history. So the future seems very bright at this point. Like I said, we just signed the number 10 player in the country, beat out Ohio State and Georgia. So we've got to do just good enough this year, like 7-5. I think we'll do it just enough to keep these recruiting classes in place, keep the momentum going. So whereas technically Beamer and Muschamp are at the exact same point at this point in their tenure, I think the future seems a little brighter and the vibes around the program seem better.
And we've talked a lot about different position groups and what we can expect from them in the future. But the big one is quarterback. So what do we have on the horizon there?
So I feel very good about that as well. So first of all, I think Phil Steele maybe said our quarterback room was like the top to bottom, the most talented in the conference. You're the one that bought the magazine, so you tell me, but I think I heard him say that.
Yes, this is the deepest one in the conference.
Okay. So, you look after Spencer Rattler, Luke Doty, who hasn't done anything yet, but just oozing with talent. He was a top 50 recruit, insanely fast, insanely strong arm. Tanner Bailey behind him, 4-star kid. Colton Gauthier, another 4-star kid. And the best out of all of them, the guy who I fully expect is going to be our future quarterback, is a 3-star Lenoris Sellers. Just a kid who completely flew under the radar. He was committed to Syracuse for a long time, and then we finally opened our eyes and saw what he was doing there in Florence and offered him late, and thankfully we convinced him to come. But he's 6'3", 245, just a huge arm. And everything I'm hearing about him says he looks fantastic. So I think that might be our next quarterback. But any way you go, it's super talented kids.
That is fantastic news, because we had to sit through some terrible quarterback play there.
Yeah,
and we that's enough for a lifetime. Those guys, we had some awful players. Jesus.
Yeah, well, Colin Hill, that was the kid's name, right?
Oh yeah, was that the grad assistant?
No, that was Zeb Noland.
Oh my God, Zeb! How could I forget Zeb? Yeah, Colin Hill. I feel like they all run together because it was all the same player basically.
Yeah, and it was tough. And Doty, while he was very talented, the times we've had to play him, he's not looked good yet. So, yeah, we've seen very bad quarterback play for a long time now. But as of starting with the Tennessee game last year, we've seen some excellent quarterback play.
Yeah, so hopefully that continues. And I guess the final question to wrap it up: are we going to beat Clemson again this year?
So I guess in a minute we'll get to Clemson's in-depth preview, but I don't know. We're gonna be an underdog. They're probably going to be a little better than they were. As bad as they were this year, it was a very close game. I think you have to say Clemson's probably going to beat us, but the days of them just beating the shit out of us and this being a foregone conclusion, I think are over with, thankfully. I think we're going to continue to bump up and they're going to continue to maybe slide a little bit. So I think it will at least be a very good game this year.
I can hear the screams from New Spring Church now. So I think I like our anytime you get Clemson in Willie B,
yeah,
you got a shot.
Yeah.
And
and they're, like I said, the days of them being elite, I think they're still going to be like a 10-win team at least this year. But yeah, the days of them blowing us out, I think, are well over with, thankfully.
We're on the way. All right. That will do it for the South Carolina Gamecock football season preview. Check out the SEC preview and the national preview, and subscribe to the YouTube channel Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers so that you can see Brett's bets, where Brett and the expert make their weekly college football picks. I'm telling you, it is the most entertaining weekly college football pick'em show on the internet. Go watch old episodes and you'll find out I'm telling the truth. All right. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share, and we will catch you later.